I'm Officer Pete Matejcek of the Bloomfield Township Police Department. Over the last year, there have been several rather sensational newspaper articles concerning coyotes in the area of Bloomfield Township. As a result, I have received numerous phone calls and emails and visits from our residents expressing their concerns about the coyotes. Well, to help us kind of sort through some of the fact and fiction today, I've asked biologist and manager of the E.L. Johnson Nature Center, Dan Badgley, to join us today. Dan, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Dan, we met a few weeks back and you brought to my attention an interesting study on coyotes that has been conducted in Cook County, Illinois. Can you tell me a little bit about that study and what makes it so special from other studies that have been done?
Well, this is the first major study, Pete, that was done in a city, urban area. In fact, if we compare this to the Detroit area, it's very similar. And the study was conducted by biologists from Ohio State University. And so these are professional people who know what they're doing. And the good thing about this study, too, is that it's been going on now for 9 years. And as studies go, that is a long-term study. Many ecological studies may only last, say, 5 years, but this study's been going on a long time. So they've been able to collect a lot of data, and they still have questions, obviously, about coyotes, but they have learned a lot through the course of this study.
Okay, and before we even move on to that, a coyote, what are we talking about in terms of how long have they been in Bloomfield Township? What do our residents need to know about them?
Well, I started getting calls probably about 10 years ago, roughly. And these calls weren't very numerous at the time. And oftentimes it seemed like the reports of coyotes were out near, say, I-75 in the Square Lake Road area. So it appeared at that time that coyotes were moving in from the north toward the south. But I would say in the last 5 years, the reports now are from all over the township. They've certainly spread, and they're here. I think it'd be very difficult to get an exact number on them. Again, going back to the Cook County study, it was surprising to the researchers how high the population was, given how populated the area was with people. But again, it's difficult to get an exact count here. But as far as should people be worried, concerned, afraid, no, I would say that, and the answer to that is definitely not.
Very good. How would I recognize a coyote if I saw one from a domestic dog?
Well,
I see you brought some friends here.
Yeah, we just happen to have one standing right here. What you want to look for is, it's basically about the size of a medium-sized dog, probably similar to a German Shepherd.
Okay.
Stands about 18 inches to 2 feet tall. The weight of a coyote is approximately 25 pounds to 30 pounds in this area. I think in northern Michigan they're probably going to be a little bit larger, but 25 to 30 pounds would be pretty typical for an adult here.
And this one's a typical?
This is a typical adult. Might be a little on the large side, but still very typical. Coyotes tend to have pointed noses and high ears. They have yellow eyes, which is different from dogs. And their color is going to vary. This is a pretty typical color, but you may see them lighter colored, you may see them darker. So it does vary. I have a second pelt here, and this one, again, is quite similar to that one, but a little bit different. So, and one thing that residents don't want to confuse a coyote with, of course, is a red fox. So we also happen to have a red fox here, and you can see the difference. We're talking about an animal here that's only about 10 pounds maximum. They look larger than that because of their thick coat, but really they're like a puppy almost. And this is a full-grown adult right here.
Okay.
So there's quite a difference in size. And we do have both living here in the township. The fox were here before the coyotes were. So they have been around, but it'll be interesting to watch. Typically where coyotes move in, they often push the fox out because they're competing for the same resources. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to our fox population around here. They're certainly here now, though.
Now I'm curious, now you said something about when you see them, you know, the fur may look different or be different coloration. I've been a police officer here now in Bloomfield Township almost 11, coming up on 12 years now. I've only seen a coyote once. When would you typically see a coyote?
They're, again, in this study from Chicago is pointing this out too, they are mainly active at night in urban areas. That may not be true out in the more rural areas, but here in suburbia, nighttime is when they're moving around the most.
Now this is where I got to interrupt you here, because when I saw them, it was around this time of year,
Right.
but it was broad daylight.
Right. And this is the time of year where you might see them during the daytime.
Okay.
For instance, this is the start of the mating season, and coyotes are territorial, meaning they're going to guard a certain geographic area. And so of any time of the year, this is a time when you could very possibly see them during the day, from anywhere from now, which is early February here, until about mid-April, late April. That's when the pups would be born, and again, they're probably more active at night with their hunting.
Okay. And, okay, not actually seeing one, is there any evidence that someone would maybe find on their property that would let them know that they have coyotes in the area?
Definitely. One of the things, of course, would be a track. And I have a picture of a track here. And one of the things you want to look for, first of all, and I know it's hard to do this any other way, but the tracks are about 2.5 inches in length. And what often happens with coyote tracks is that the claws don't show in these outer toes here. Oftentimes you're just going to see those middle two claws showing. And then of course it has the heel pad here. Whereas a dog track often shows all of the claw marks. So that is one way to tell the difference between a coyote track and a dog track.
Now you brought some other unsavory evidence of
Yes.
coyote.
I did. Here on the table we have, for those at home who might be thinking we're sitting next to this is called Repliscat. And what we have here is a model of coyote droppings, or scat as biologists call it here. And over here we have red fox. And it's important to point this out because this is a very likely sign that people might find in their yard, but again, never see the animal. I guess the way to describe this is, the best word that's used is it almost looks like a rope where it's kind of twisted, and oftentimes this is the thing that people want to look at. It would have hair or fur in it from any wild animals that the coyote may have eaten. The fox scat you can see is much smaller, so there's a big difference there. And of course the difference between the coyote scat and your common everyday German Shepherd or other type of dog is that they are eating Purina dog chow or some other type of dog food, and their droppings are totally different from a coyote.
In fact, so much so, you brought one picture today of a picture of coyote scat, and maybe we can show that if everybody's had their breakfast. But it does definitely show, it does not look like dog scat.
Right.
And I've been a dog owner, and it looks nothing like it.
Right, it's definitely different, yeah.
And then you've also, because many of our residents will probably never be lucky enough to see some pictures of coyotes, we also have some photographs here that you brought us today. What is the origin of those photographs?
Well, we have a neighbor over just on the north side of the Nature Center whose property backs up to our property, and right off from their back deck they were able to photograph this family of coyotes. It's amazing. You can see it's in the middle of the day.